So I think it's important that you have those discussions with them and review their paychecks and being able to show them where those deductions are coming from. Additionally, having a checking account open and direct deposit, understanding how to write checks, knowing, what is a credit and a debit, how the bills are paid out each month or depending on how they're deducted. Also teaching them maybe to pay for their own expenses. So, rather than giving them gas money, if they are working, have them use the income they're earning from the gas money to understand, paying for that, and a cell phone or food or entertainment. Establishing good budgeting habits at an early age will carry them forward to making those good decisions as they go through to life and doing that. Another great idea is opening up an investment account or a savings account and have them make a monthly contribution. Over 18, if they wanted to open up a Roth IRA to start making contributions towards their future, is a great way to go ahead and do that. And then show them how to save in small increments and how that can grow over time. So having that experience of adding money in every month, every week, is just, a way to see how that happens. I remember distinctly being a senior in high school, and I had a gentleman named Martin Schwartz come into my economics class, and he started talking about the importance of compound interest and how you could put a penny away or $1 away, and over time, because it has interest accumulating on that or a rate of return, that money would grow. And Marty shared with me about 20 years later, we stayed in touch. I actually opened up an IRA with him when I was 18. And he shared that he had taught that class or came into that economics class for a good 15 years. And I was the only student who ever came to him and said, I'm interested in opening up that Roth IRA. And I think a lot of that had to do is because of the fact I was introduced to the concept of money at such a young age and having the opportunity to work with the bank. So talk to your children about money, get them interested in doing that. I would love to have some young folks walk into my office someday and say, I heard about this on this webinar and I'd like to start my investments and doing an IRA. The other thing too is I would have them understand the cost of tuition. Explain to them what grants and loans are out there. Also explain to them how interest works and how those loans may be deferred on what those interest rates are, but they're accumulating interest over time. So having an explanation of what things cost, I think, is really, really important for young folks. And lastly, as they start to turn age 22 and beyond, so graduating from college maybe, making sure that they establish a workplace retirement account. Making good investment choices and being wary of the water cooler talk and fad investments. Investing has gotten very popular over the past 2-3 years, especially with Facebook and Reddit and a lot of the different social media aspects that have gotten into investing. So it's important that you do your research and that you're not just investing in something that is being talked about on the internet and it seems like a fun thing to do. Investing can be fun, but there's a great quote from Warren Buffett. He says a phrase of, I've only invested things that I know and understand. And what you'll see is the types of investments that he has held onto for long periods of time are things that are simple that he would have an understanding of, but he's a very, very successful investor, Warren Buffett. The other thing to keep in mind is Rome wasn't built in a day. It's going to take some time for your investments to grow. So you may have opportunities where the market is returning very good and your investments grow quickly, but there's other times when having those good investment choices are going to pay dividends in the future for being consistent on how you continue to invest and save. The other thing is look to do something outside of just your work plan. Open accounts with a purpose attached to them. Patrick said, one of my phrases, which is the purpose behind the money. Oftentimes, if you give your money a goal, you're more likely to use it and save it. So if your plan is to save money for a car, save money for a house, or save money for retirement, or save money to go on a trip, if you give each account a purpose or a goal, and then you realize that goal, like I said, you're more likely to save for it and get that gratification in the end for having that happen. And lastly, look to hire a professional or ask a professional for help. You know, there's a lot of information out there, and I encourage folks to do their own research. But ultimately, if you have questions or you want to make sure that you're making good investment decisions, I really believe that it's important to hire an advisor or a trusted person for help, so that this way you can ensure that your approach for what you're trying to accomplish is a good one, and it's also good to just have that second set of eyes and ears for helping assist with your goals. So with that, I'm going to delay asking for questions, and I guess Jen, I'll just pop it over to you quick and then see if you have any questions or for your presentation.
Actually,
can I stop and do another commercial announcement here before we go to Jen, if that's okay?
You
Can
are
you
a
make me
webmaster.
presenter? Okay, thank you. So we've got one more quick ad that we want to share with everybody, thinking, if I can get to it. RRMM, who is our diamond sponsor for, whoops, wrong thing. RRMM is our diamond sponsor for this year. So let me go ahead here, get that up. Come on. This reminds me back in college when I used to try and talk through my technical difficulties so nobody would understand that we were having some challenges. Oh, there we go. It's up now. So just a little 1 minute thank you from RRMM. Okay, so thank you very much to RRMM, and I'm going to switch it over to Jen. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to also thank, let's see here. I'm going to thank Suffolk News Herald for being our media sponsor for the Can We Talk webinar. And Jen, it is all yours.
all right. So let's see. Hopefully, let me know if you can see my screen. Yay! All right. Well, hello everyone. I'm Jennefer Ambrose, and I'm with Sovran Bank, and would like to thank Patrick for the wonderful introduction in the beginning. And I'd also like to say I am thankful that I'm working with Margie on this presentation tonight, sharing this information with you. Margie is a dear, trusted friend of mine, and I appreciate doing this with her. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with maybe moving to the next screen here. Wait. Sorry, technical difficulties here. All right, so we're going to start with Money Smart and what kids need to know. So I'm just going to talk a little bit tonight and share with you what debits and credits mean when it comes to a bank account, why tracking debits and credits are important, why budgeting is important, and then I'm going to do a practice budget worksheet with you. Hopefully you'll find that to be a lot of fun afterwards. I will share that some of my characters here, of course, some may recognize SpongeBob. you know, Mr. Krabs loves money, so I just thought this was fitting for this presentation. So let's talk about credits and debits and how they work when you have a bank account. So what's considered a credit to your bank account? A deposit is a credit, and it can be in the form of cash, check. It can be in the form of an ACH credit. ACH is automatic clearinghouse, and that can be in a form of direct deposit, you know, of your paycheck. It can also be in the form of using PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, if someone owes you money. There's certainly many other ways that credits can, you know, there are other forms of credit, but these are the most common. You know, what is considered a debit to your bank account? A withdrawal is a debit, and it can be in the form of, again, writing a check or using online banking and using bill pay service to pay bills, loan payments, using your debit card. So anytime you swipe it and use that card, that's a debit to your checking account. And again, ACH debit, automatic clearinghouse, that can be by using PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, if someone owes you money, and also an automatic draft. Automatic draft is when you may set up a payment for a loan payment to automatically debit out of your account each month. It can also be in the form of insurance, having your car insurance auto-debited from your account each month. So that's a little bit about credits and debits. The next screen. So now we're going to talk about why it's important to keep track of your monthly credits and debits. One of them is so you do not overdraft your bank account, which can cause a non-sufficient funds fee. To overdraft your account means you didn't have enough money in your account to cover the transaction that you made, whether it was by check or using your debit card. A non-sufficient funds fee or overdraft fee can cost you a lot of money. Another reason is so you do not miss a loan payment, which could affect your credit score. So your credit score or your score or your grade, score grade, is a credit that companies assign to you based on how you handle your money and how you pay your bills. If you pay your bills on time, your score or grade is high, and if you do not pay your bills on time, your grade is low, and you'll have a difficult time getting a new loan. Your credit score or grade will also determine the interest rate that you may pay on your loan. So it's really important to make sure that you're paying bills on time. So if you don't, another important reason is so you don't miss any bills, such as your phone bill, car insurance, utilities. We know what happens if you forget to pay your phone bill, your phone gets turned off. And then there's a reconnection fee. Your insurance, if you don't pay your insurance bill, then you're driving your car, you no longer have insurance. Utilities, your utilities will get turned off. Another is so you know how much money, most important, so you know how much money you will have left over at the end of the month for everything else, such as clothes, food, etc., which is going to lead us to our next topic. Creating a monthly budget. All right, so creating a monthly budget doesn't come naturally to everybody. It's a skill, and planning and preparation are required if you want to reach your savings goals. Why is budgeting so important? So budgeting helps you be aware of your current financial situation and can make bill paying easier. It ensures you will have enough money for things you need. It helps you pay down your debts so you can pay them off, and you can put more money towards your savings goals. And creating a budget enables you to save for emergencies. Another factor that people might not consider is that budgeting can have a positive effect on your emotional well-being by reducing stress. When you're budgeting, you decide how much you spend in each category. So if you want to put a significant portion of your money towards leisure activities, you shouldn't feel bad about that as long as you're still saving and meeting your other needs. Now that we've covered the basics of credits and debits and learned the importance of creating a budget, let's have some fun and practice with a monthly budget worksheet. So let me see if I can get this to work. All right. Oops, sorry. I need to find my worksheet. Sorry, technical difficulties again. All right, so let me see if I can figure out and just do it this way. So I was hoping that you all would have an opportunity to fill this out yourself. I think you'll have this form available to you later, but using the team budget worksheet, input the amount of each expense next to the category, and in one of these categories in the amount budgeted. So I'm just going to do this with you just so that we can get a visual of what it looks like. And this is just an example of some expenses and what your monthly income may be. So for rent, we're just going to enter $650. And I like this, of course, because it adds everything up for you. For food, I'm not going to break everything down, so we're just going to put in these figures. For transportation, $350. We'll say debt payment for student loans, $250. For entertainment, which can include many things, $225. Moving on to the next section is personal, and we'll just put it here, which is a lot of money, but we're not going to break it down for now. All right, so that's going to give us a grand total of $2,000. Here, I'm going to input monthly income. Now, this monthly income is just my paycheck, but down the road, when I'm making investments, I'm going to have some dividends that I can also include in my monthly income. Maybe, unless I decide to reinvest them, right? So for now, you can see here, I have my total monthly income of $2,500. The amount that I budgeted is $2,000, and I have $500 left over. Now, that's my budget. What I'm going to do at the same time is make sure that I've stuck to my budget. And I'm going to go down and enter those figures here, and it'll subtract your figures as long as you didn't go over. Say I didn't spend quite $300. Gas went up, so maybe I spent a little bit more in transportation. Still made my regular payment for my student loan, and see, I didn't quite spend $225 for personal needs. So somehow I still ended up with a $2,000. I was hoping to make it a little different, but anyway. There we go. So it did change my budget a little bit. I spent a little bit more than what I actually budgeted, and I only ended up with $225. So that's why it's so important to stay on track with your budget. And if you can save some money somewhere, that increases that savings goal. This is a really fun worksheet. I've had fun messing, I personally didn't have one like this, but I really like it. And I think it'd be a great tool for parents and children to work together with. And the last thing that I have to share is, since I've not got my PowerPoint correct, it's just some links to some resources. There are so many resources out there for learning about money, learning about wants and needs, budgeting. learning how to get a loan, the importance of credit score. All of these sites have parent guides, they have student guides, and they have teacher guides. So I encourage you to use these resources and very good information. And then, of course, reach out to Margie or myself. We're happy to help as well.
Absolutely, 100%.
So,
So
Margie,
Patrick, I think I was going to say.
So I'm going to jump back in here and kind of share with you guys some of the questions and everything. But before I go any further, I know, you know, so many of the kids today are focused on the computer in their hand or using systems online. You know, many of the financial companies, you know, whether we're talking about Southern or any of the others, many of their online banking applications are rather vigorous and robust tools that you can manage all your accounts from, or you know, that you can set goals inside it. Am I correct in saying that, Jennefer?
You're absolutely correct. Yeah, there's some great online, within your online banking program, budget portals. You know, we have, most all banks have it. Some I think are a little more user-friendly than others, but they're great budgeting tools within your online banking program.
So one question that we had popped up, probably more for you, Margie, is, you know, if somebody does want to get their kids started in investing, what's a good amount?
That's an excellent question. What I would say is get them interested in the investment, and then look at the amount. So I have a story of a family I work with. Their grandfather's a client, and what he did was he bought Walmart and Coca-Cola for one granddaughter, and then he bought Walmart again and Disney for another granddaughter. Well, she was about 6 years old walking into Walmart, and because of the fact that she got introduced to what, you know, the stock was or the investment was, she literally walked into Walmart and said, I own this place. So I think that it's important that you look at the investment itself. So there's some investments that are going to be thousands of dollars to purchase. There's other ones that are going to be a couple of $100 or less than $100 to purchase, but I would have the child get interested in a specific company and then look to invest in that and have them watch it grow, or lose, because it does both. And it'll help them associate better with that. But we do custodian accounts for children under the age of 22 to help with that process and get that set up. So I'm hoping that helps answer that question a little bit.
Okay. So another one is a parent wants to talk about the importance of saving and having cash to purchase something versus credit. It's important to get credit, but it's important to kind of learn the value of something versus just going out and getting it and then paying it off and paying that interest on things. So can one of you guys speak to that for us?
Jen, I'm going to send that one over to you.
Okay. So, you know, you have to talk about wants and needs. And, you know, if they have any type of earned income, whether it's allowance or some other small type of job, sit down and work with them and talk about that budget. How much they want to save of that money, how much they want maybe spend right now of that money, determining that, working with your child and trying to figure out how to save for that want that they want to meet, and also determine a time frame in which they may be able to meet. So if there is something specific they'd like to have it by summertime because that's when they're going to use it. Well, you've got April, May, and a couple of months to save for it. So how much money they need to save in 8 weeks to be able to get that item. So it's just sitting down and talking about a budget, how to spend that money, if they want to save it all, or if they want to spend $5 and put the rest into savings so that they can meet that goal.
And then I would just piggyback on that for just a second, is that I think that sometimes credit or loans or debt has a negative connotation attached to it. But I would say that not all credit or debt is bad. There's some that probably isn't as beneficial as others, right? But if you want to buy a house or a car, you're going to need to establish some sort of a credit history in order to make that goal a reality. So I think it's better to maybe educate children from a young age that how credit works, how interest rates work, how having good versus bad credit can affect them in the future, how paying things on time, as Jennefer was talking about, makes sense. Because if you're not teaching them, they may start getting offers in the mail. They've kind of outlawed this a little bit more on college campuses, but there's a lot of times where credit card companies would set up shop on a college campus, and all of a sudden you've got 15 credit cards as a 25-year-old that you've ordered pizza and soda on, and you're trying to figure out how to pay them off so you don't have bad credit. So educate them in advance before somebody else is going to teach them maybe not the lessons that you're looking for, because it sounds like you're smart with your money and you want to make sure your children are getting set up for success.
Absolutely. I'd like to add one more thing to that, because it's really important, and I've seen this where students get student loans, and they don't keep track of it. And there's a point there where you've got to start making some payments, or you've got to reach out and ask for deferrals or deferment. And if they don't, then they become delinquent. And they may not have any debt but that school debt, but because they didn't make their payments on time, it negatively impacted their credit score. And that can affect not only trying to get credit, but it can affect in getting a job. So it's really important, that they understand any type of credit that they establish. They have to stay on it, and they have to make payments and determine what they can afford.
This is what happens when you have two people who have basically 60 years of experience in the financial world between us. We have stories and things to share. We could probably be here all night. So Patrick cut us off when we're going too far in left field. But we both want to help people and make sure that they're making good choices.
Well, and so I'll share a funny story. So Margie knows Jacob's infatuation with Nintendo.
I do.
And so a couple years back, he wanted to get a Nintendo 3DS, and it's what he asked for his birthday and everything. And, he's gotten birthday money for years. So he had built up his bank account. And I said, well, if it's something you want, you buy it, because 3DSs at one point, were $250 or whatever. But I will never, before, when his bank account, of course, was connected to mine, so I could deposit things to it or whatever. But he would say, well, just take it out of my bank account. And he didn't have to go along with Margie's statement at the beginning, that whole concept of actually writing out a check or handling money has an impact. So for his 3DS, I took him to the bank. He had to draw out the money and he had to get it in his hand. Well, the bank teller was smarter than I was and gave him 3 $100 bills. That was the coolest thing in the world to him. And when we went to, I can't remember, I think it was Best Buy that we went to go buy his 3DS. When it came time to go pay for it, he wanted to give two of the $100 bills and keep one, and asked me to pay the balance because he didn't want to give up all 3 $100 bills. So I mean, there's reality in putting your hand around that money and feeling the pain of letting go. That I think, because we all live with plastic in our, that's connected to everything, or our phones that can draw from everything. we don't feel that pain like we do. So I think there's some value in that.
Absolutely. It's the connection. I don't know what it is. There's a difference between swiping a card or handing over a bill. It looks different. It feels different. Psychologically, it's different. So it's interesting to hear Jacob have that memory that hopefully he can share as well in the future when maybe he's helping establish what this could look like.
So let's see here. What other questions do we have? Bear with me just a second. So going along with that and talking about swiping a card, everybody, I see, I think it's Greenleaf is what I'm seeing, but there's these little debit cards that you can get for kids that, parents can deposit to and control. What's your feeling on those? I am always questionable of those third party type things, me personally. So please, I'm not a financial advisor, CPA, attorney, priest, or anything else. So please understand this is strictly my opinion. What is some feedback that you have on those different devices and tools that parents may use?
I don't know if I've never used those. My kids have never used those. What I do know is that when you have an account at the bank, at least with a debit card, you can track their spending. You can limit their spending by, well, number one, they need to learn a budget and let them know what they have, and they need to track that. You can see what their spending is by going online, looking through online banking or through mobile banking. You can see where they're spending. The nice thing too about a debit card is if it gets lost or stolen, or if there's unauthorized transactions, you notify the bank immediately. You're not liable for those transactions. As long as they're unauthorized, I don't know how it works with those other cards. If those are lost or stolen, I don't know if that's like cash and it's gone. I don't know. I personally, I like the debit card because it can be tracked. You can turn it on and off if need be. If it gets stolen, you can go on your mobile app and turn it off. You're covered if there's any fraudulent activity, and you can see the activity on the card.
I think I would also just be wary of fees, right? So these third-party companies, I'm not saying that one specifically charges it, but they need to make money somewhere in the process, right? So I would just be hesitant of doing it. The other thing too is seeing some of these things on television, having my child's picture on that card may not make me have warm and fuzzies on what that looks like. I know that in today's society, there's a lot of pictures out there on the internet, whether it's social media, we do a lot of sharing of our kids' information, so maybe not as much of a concern, but my primary concern would be, what are the fees involved? How is the money transferred? What does that look like? And to Jen's point, I think I would start with the process of teaching them the budgeting, the dollars, the cents, what that looks like, and then transitioning to plastic. They're going to have years of decades of using plastic. Teach them the basics first before you transition to that type of a tool, if you will.
So, and along those lines, I find value in knowing where I'm banking. I understand everything's very virtual right now, but still I have a relationship with where I bank and the office that I go into. They know me, they know my accounts, and there's real value in, like you were saying, Jennefer, you're protected, and being able to walk in and say, oh my God, this happened to my kid or whatever, being able to have them help you walk you through filing those fraudulent claims or getting a replacement card or whatever that may be.
Absolutely. Yep. Unfortunately, we see it all the time. not just with kids, with adults, swiping your card somewhere. I mean, unfortunately, fraud is rampant. So.
I was going to ask Jen, just because I was curious. You know, I love the budget, the teen budget. I think that's the neatest thing because it makes it realistic. I was lucky enough to do a presentation at Kings Fork High School about, gosh, almost 7-8 years ago now, to the seniors. And there was a young girl there, and she said, Margie, you know, I appreciate what you're trying to do here without laying a budget. I make $900 a month, which granted, you're a senior, that's pretty good money. But she says, you know, you need to make these numbers more realistic. I can't afford this. And I was like, that's the point. The idea is to be able to show you that things cost money, whether it's your cell phone or it's fuel in your car. The difference between what is truthfully a grocery and what is entertainment. Dining out, that's probably entertainment, but we are so accustomed to driving through a drive-through for lunch or breakfast or dinner that dining out just becomes part of groceries, but it's typically more expensive and should be used as an entertainment. So I love the categories. I guess my question is, how could you see this tool being used where maybe the parents give it to the kids and say, fill out what you think each of these sections cost, and then they come back and actually put in what the real budget is? I could see maybe a young person thinking rent or house payment is $200, but the grocery bill is $1,000, you know, and being able to kind of do that compare and contrast.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I really got excited when I found this worksheet, is because, you know, I would definitely have your child do that first section, and then, you know, let the child put in those numbers, just like Margie mentioned, what they think the cost is for those things and what they'll need. And then as a parent, go in and talk with them and put in the actual, this is actually, you know, and explain the difference or why there's a difference there. You know, and go down the category so that the child has an idea of what is realistic for those type of bills. So absolutely. I think that's a great idea.
Especially because everyone on tonight's presentation is going to get a copy of that worksheet to be able to utilize it anyway, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So those are the end of the questions. Are there any final comments before we head out?
Well, I just want to, I had a couple questions I wanted to ask Margie, because I felt like these were important questions, and sometimes you don't know what to ask when you're ready to invest. So one of my questions was, even though I already know, but I want other people to know, are you primarily a financial planner or an investment advisor?
So I answer that question by saying I'm both. I help people plan for future goals that they have and use money as a tool to make that happen, but I also help them make good investment decisions. We do the research, we find out what clients are accustomed to investing in, what they're comfortable with, we assess their tolerance for market fluctuation. So we spend a lot of time getting to know the folks that we work with, so we give them good investment advice so they can achieve their goals.
So more importantly also is you are a fiduciary.
I am a fiduciary. I have to put my clients' interests ahead of my own, which is very important. So anytime I'm talking to a client, their needs are met well in advance of my own. Absolutely.
My favorite question is, where do you keep my money and how can I see it?
So that's a really good question. It is important that if you put your money anywhere, you should be able to see it and have some sort of access to it, whether it's with Southern or if it's here with us. We have an online account access. It allows you to check your statement, your account live, real, daily, if you wanted to. So yeah, you can always see it, but you should, on your cell phone. So you should always be able to have access to and see your money. That's paramount. That's really, really important. So, and then I have just 2 other questions for Jen. If I can go ahead and do that. I know, Patrick, you only have 5 minutes left, but what services would Southern Bank offer for somebody who is under the age of 18? So that this way, you know, if they do have their chore money or if they have birthday money, that they're able to start the process of understanding how banking works.
That's a great question. So we have, you know, a child in Virginia, well, at least with Southern, if you're 18 and under the age of 18, you're considered a minor. So for under the age of 15, I would recommend at any age a savings account, but under the age of 15, it would be more like a custodial account where a parent, grandparent, guardian would open up the account for the child. It would be the child's money, it's in the child's name, child's security number, but the parent or the guardian or grandparent is the authorized signer on the account. Child can make all the deposits they want, but for withdrawals, that authorized person is the only one that can make the withdrawals. I think that's a great way to start for checking accounts. We do will allow checking accounts, but again, under the age of 15, it has to have a parent, a guardian, an authorized signer on that account. For ages 15 to 17, we will open up a checking account. It's really manager discretion, but opening up a checking account, there's really the only thing about opening up that checking account is that we can't issue a debit card. The only way to do that would be to have the parent on the account. So there are ways of making it work so that your child can have that debit card, it'll be in the parent's name, it'll be up to the parent to give that debit card to the child, but until they reach the age of 18, they can't have a debit card in their name. You know, but with those accounts, they can have online banking access and mobile banking access. They can track all the transactions. Even better, you can set up alerts. So not just with your child, but even with your own account. Through online banking, you can set up alerts. You know, even for every transaction that's posted to your account, for example, anytime I swipe my card, I get an alert on my phone. I like that. It just pops up for a second and it lets me know. So if there is a transaction that I didn't do, if something pops up on my phone, then I know I didn't do it. I know something's wrong. You can do the same thing for the debit card. So it's a nice, you know, the savings account is the ideal way. Once they reach the age of 15, we can start working towards that checking account.
I think that's great. So, but Patrick, I mean, my final thought is I'm just so happy that you asked Jen and I to be a part of this evening. Supporting the Suffolk Education Foundation is something I've done for years, and I value the services that you provide to the community, even in something like this, right? Thinking outside the box and saying, we're still here, how can we take care of our community? So thank you for putting together these series. Thank you for all the work that you do behind the scenes, Beth Ann and the team, what everyone does. I'm totally grateful to what y'all do to support the city of Suffolk, and thank you for having me be a very small part of that this evening.
Yes, thank you so very much.
And we thank both of you guys, and hopefully it'll just be a small fine when I come back next Thursday. It's spring break this week. I won't be there this Thursday, but I'll have my money ready next Thursday. How about that?
There's a good chance I might help with that Rotary contribution there, and continuing to support the Suffolk Education Foundation through what we do in Rotary as well.
And guys, thank you all so much. This has been a great discussion. You guys definitely came to the level of everybody else, maybe even raised the bar a little bit. So thank you guys for being a part of tonight. And thank you, as always, for your all support throughout the year. We also want to give a shout out to the Rotaryans who have been a part of sponsoring these events, and the UPS store, who has also been a part. I'm sad to share that due to vaccinations, our gala in May has been canceled. But I'm happy to share that it appears that the Hilton will be a vaccination site for months to come. So they can't have any events because they are vaccination sites. That's good news for our community.
Yes.
But we do have our golf tournament in October out at Sleepy Hole. So watch for more information about that. And hopefully we're still going to do something to support the arts. It'll take smarter brains than mine to come up with that. But as always, we welcome your all's feedback on our website or on our Facebook page. You can contact us that way. And thank you all again for being a part of this evening. Everybody, have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.